Guess what? I'm a filmmaking imposter. I think. A person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others, especially for fraudulent gain. Okay, pretending and deceiving, that's a little too far for my particular situation. I mean, I've shot a bunch of music videos, but the truth is, I haven't shot a new music video in over a year now. Shoot opportunities have come my way, but I've just ended up referring them onto other filmmakers. Either because I didn't have the appropriate time or energy to give the projects what they really needed, or the budgets were just too low that with some serious consideration, I didn't really feel that these projects would reach a level of quality that would be good enough to be on my portfolio. Now, I'm in a pretty unique position to even be able to turn down film shoots in the first place. Something that a lot of creative people don't often have the chance to do because we need to pay for rent and feed ourselves, and just money is pretty scarce in general as a creative, especially when you're starting. I'm only able to be so selective with the projects that I take on because, number one, I freelance for another YouTube channel, which means that I have a pretty stable income, so that when projects do come my way, money is not one of the core factors in my decision-making process. Unless, of course, I was offered just a crazy amount of money to shoot a really obviously bland and dull project, because in that situation, I'm like, why not? The money is compensation for how dull this shoot is going to end up being. And two, I've almost had 10 years of freelance filmmaking experience, meaning that I've built up a pretty solid portfolio of work that showcases what I can do. So by now I have a lot of reference experiences to judge the potential outcome of any shoots against my own body of work, to help figure out if a shoot would even end up making its way onto my website or my social media platforms to better help market my skills. I've actually been this selective with what I decide to showcase online, because even on my website right now, I only have 12 music videos that you can watch, even though I've actually shot and been involved in way more than this. But I decided not to showcase them because when someone tries to look for my work, I only want them to be able to see the best of what I can do. But do you really need to make over 10 projects to call yourself a designer, a musician, or a filmmaker? Or can you just make one music video and that gives you enough right to say, hey, I'm a music video maker, so someone hire me, please? Anyone? Or do you have to wait until most of your income is coming from this field? It's funny that when people ask, hey, what do you do? We tend to assume that they're asking, what do you do to make money? But I propose that we should instead assume that what they're really asking is, what do you actually like to spend your time doing? Being a creative is often one of those difficult paths where there's a lot of crossover initially between the job that you actually want to do and the job that helps you financially support yourself. I'm really fortunate to be in a position where one of my main freelance clients who provides me with a lot of my financial stability is in the same core field as my interest of filmmaking. This client being another YouTube channel that I've filmed and managed for about 4 years now. And all of the practical YouTube skills that I've picked up along the way in collaborating with them have proved to be pretty invaluable when putting that consistency of putting out content into my own channel. And for how to stick it out through the times where you know that you're putting out some incredibly valuable content for the viewers, but there aren't many viewers and your actual subscriber count is growing at such a slow rate. I go a lot more in depth in another video about the crazy story behind how I even begun to start working for this other YouTube channel, so you can check that out right here. Despite my time and attention towards this channel and my own, I still feel a lack of focus towards reaching out to more musicians in order to make more music videos and just generally less YouTube related content. I'm documenting my whole journey of reaching out to more film clients for an upcoming YouTube video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But whenever I have a lot of moments where I start to ponder what I should really be putting my focus and attention towards, it often just comes straight back to YouTube. The fact that I have the freedom to focus on growing my YouTube channel versus just working on multiple film projects per week for many hours is a really hard thing to contend with, because I do actually want to have both of these areas, the YouTube side and the working on proper film set side, in my life right now. But if I really had to consider where I want to put my focus, I would maybe lean towards 80% of that towards YouTube, and then the other 20% towards reaching out to more musicians, more production companies, and more record labels. I'm still trying to figure out the balance for these two numbers, and I'm totally open to adjusting them as time goes by. But I feel like being so early in my YouTube career, this is perhaps an amazing opportunity to just build up the habits and the momentums that go into putting out regular content for you guys. Because for all the non-YouTubers out there, making YouTube videos is f***ing hard. Coming up with ideas for videos is super intimidating, and then scripting them is just incredibly time consuming, and then shooting them, that can just lead to so many frustrations. Especially when you just can't say your bullet points to camera, as well as, especially when you just can't say your bullet pointed camera. And you know that you wrote them. especially when you just can't say your bullet points to camera as well as you wrote them. That's how many times I have to mess up the line before I deliver a good one to camera. But I feel as though if I build a really solid foundation for the workflow that I have, it'll be way easier to sustain regular releases, especially when I hit the more busy periods of my life. I could be completely wrong about this, but at least I will have some sort of reference point to look back on for what a solid workflow looks like to keep putting out valuable content at a consistent level. I've had moments while planning my YouTube videos recently where the bullshit self-doubting part of my mind is saying things to me like, hey Adam, who are you to make a video about this? You've not even shot a music video in over a year, so all the knowledge that you've had previously, it's all invalid now, you big loser. And when this happens, other than saying, leave me alone, don't bully me, I try to remember all of the knowledge that I've acquired over the countless film projects that I've worked on in multiple roles and in multiple areas of production. From short films, TV commercials, and my personal favorites, music videos. Knowledge and experiences don't just disappear overnight, especially when you've immersed yourself in a particular creative field for a certain period of time. They're all still valid, and any of the professional or personal experiences that you might have are bound to be useful to someone out there, especially the fellow creatives, and in my case, the fellow up-and-coming filmmakers that are out there. Having this open mindset around sharing your experiences and knowledge and putting it out into the world, as scary as it might be sometimes, it seems to be paying off, at least in my situation, because in just over a year of taking this YouTube channel seriously, I've gone from having 55 subscribers to now having just over 4,500 at the time of recording this video. So to clarify my personal view on when you can call yourself a filmmaker, musician, or a designer, for example, try not to think about it in terms of I am this or I am that. Instead, try and consider the perspective of I make. I make music videos, I make jewelry, or I make graphic designs. I am feels very restrictive as a definition because it starts to call into question a direct definition of you as a person, versus I make being way more open to exploration, and to me it feels a lot less intimidating to express to people, which is why it felt a lot more natural for me to write I make music videos and YouTube videos in my Instagram description. There's way less of a barrier with saying that you make stuff because it's instantly true if you've ever put out a piece of music, designed a piece of jewelry, or put out a piece of graphic design work. Even if you just did it for fun and never got paid for it. If you're juggling many interests and directions within the particular creative world that you're in, going with the I make mindset could be potentially liberating for you. And it may even help to unlock any barriers that you might have around the idea of just sharing the stuff that you're making, which in my opinion is equally as important as actually making the art that you want to in the first place. I want to be open and honest as I possibly can be on this channel. Because as much as the more egoic side of me would rather present a version of myself that's constantly busy, shooting multiple music video projects and getting calls from directors and producers left, right, and center, the reality is this just isn't the case for me right now. It's going to be really interesting to look back at this video in a few years' time when I'm maybe a lot more busy with shoots and I'm just like, oh, I was so blissfully ignorant, so maybe I'll even be like, oh, it was so much better then. Who knows, we'll see what happens. If you're curious about another chapter in my life where I started getting my dating life handled, you can check out this other video right here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because if you do, Leonardo DiCaprio is going to help with your dating life as well.
It feels amazing.
Maybe. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.